What's going on, everybody? I hope everyone is having a great rest of their day so far. We have another Canes After Dark episode with some of the best guests out there in the Miami Hurricanes community. Got plenty to talk about. We just got done with the spring game. The draft is coming up as well. Ross, where do we begin? I mean, there's so much to talk about. What topic do you want to hit on first? I mean, I would imagine the spring game is the priority. I mean, people are in love with Jake Garcia. There was an article that came out from The Athletic, Bruce Feldman, quoting that he can play in a lot of SEC programs, except for programs such as North Carolina and Clemson, a lot of Big Ten programs. I mean, he looked amazing, but it's just one spring game. It is not even a real game. It's just practice. I mean, Allen Iverson said it best. It's practice, you know? So where do we begin?
That's basically where I was going to start off with this too. I mean, we've seen ever since the spring game, the hype has been revolved around these young quarterbacks and the top-notch performances they actually put together. I mean, how long has it been, guys, since we've at least been able to say that we've got a couple young guys that can show some arm talent? It's just been too long. Dorian, man, what's your take on this? What do you think about this QB situation?
QB situation. That's a good way to kick this thing off. Just to hit on King, hoping that he's 100%. Just looking at some of his highlights. I know he put out a video today just to tease the fans and show some progress. Hopefully he's in line to come back for that Alabama game. But in terms of backup quarterback and third string, looks like we are in a good position moving forward. TVD had a solid spring game, and by all accounts, it appears that he had a good spring. And Jake Garcia, it was good to see a true freshman. Actually, he's not even a freshman yet. He hasn't started the first year, but as an early enrollee, he's probably hit the best output of any freshman quarterback in the nation. I forgot who put out a tweet. They compared his stats to a couple of the USC early enrollees and a bunch of other freshmen across the nation, and Jake Garcia outperformed them all. So we are, long-winded answer. It appears that we're in a great position moving forward, and I'm excited to see how that pans out for 2022.
Caleb, feel free to jump in, bro.
So I gotta say is what a time to be a Miami Hurricanes fan. I mean, at least since I've been watching since I was a kid, since about '05, I've never seen as talented as a QB room that we're about to have this year. It's really exciting, and it's great to see that we have two legitimate, high-end options. If, let's say anything were to happen to King, we have two quarterbacks that could definitely run the offense. And I think it's going to be a heck of a battle between the two of them going into next year. Honestly, I don't feel like we could go wrong with whichever of the two starts. But you got to be feeling great about Garcia, knowing that he's only been on campus for about 2 months, give or take, and he's already looking as good as he is right now. That's not to take away anything from TVD, because I'm a big fan of his, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's the starter come this time next year. But I just think that it's a great position to be in. And honestly, that injury to King was a little bit of a blessing in disguise, because I don't think we would have seen this from either of them had he been healthy. Now, I'm not saying that I'm happy he got hurt, but if you look at it, glass half full type of way, I think things couldn't have turned out better for us this spring, honestly, when it comes to the quarterback situation.
I I echo what you guys say, bro. Because honestly, it's a breath of fresh air to know that we have these two quarterbacks for the future. Because that's when Miami's always been great, bro. When we had great quarterback play. I mean, we haven't had that Sheesh. Probably since maybe Kaya was here, but even Kaya wasn't. I think Jake Garcia is gonna be way better than Kaya was. So, and
Yeah.
the point that he's only been here for like 2 months, bro, and like he's shown what he's shown in the spring game. I mean, I think we're gonna win a couple ACC titles with Jake Garcia. I don't see why we can't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, to echo off of everyone, I mean, look, both quarterbacks looked great. I mean, Tyler Van Dyke looked like a Power Five starter. I think Miami's in a great position. And, what Manny said, we haven't had a great quarterback since Brad Kaya. And I think the issue, coming off of the Brad Kaya era at Miami was, who was our backup quarterback? Malik Rozier, he was, a scrappy little quarterback who was quite mobile, wasn't the best, true quarterback pocket passer you can think of. He was just a scrappy quarterback in the read option offense that we had with Mark Richt, per se. But, the depth at the position, I think it's been fulfilled, and it's going back to the Miami standard, something Manny Diaz stated day one in his press conference he wanted to fix at Miami, because that's been lacking ultimately. And the only issue I could see moving forward with the quarterback position, if Rhett Lashley goes to another school, which is the expectation in modern day, it's tough to keep a good offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator at any program, because they'll eventually be a head coach, or they'll get a huge pay raise to a big elite Power Five program that they can't resist. So the only issue I'd see is, different OCs coming in, like we saw in a situation with Kyle Wright, who had a good underclassman year at Miami, and then you throw in four different offensive coordinators and it goes downhill from there. So that's the only situation where I can see where things go south, but the future is looking bright at the quarterback room. Ultimately, guys, taking away from the scrimmage, I know we missed 15 players, some very key players such as Al Blades, Corey Couch, Bubba Bolden, Will Mallory, Jared Williams. I can go on for days. But anything you guys saw that you would like Miami to key in on, during this offseason, or are still in question about? I know linebacker position, we did move Keandre Smith from striker, to inside linebacker. I think ultimately, we're seeing Jawan Mitchell reports that the staff is interested in him. He's still not a take, but they're evaluating him from the transfer portal. Do you guys think, I mean, we can talk about linebacker, but any other position you think we would like to key in on this offseason and kind of fill in that need through the transfer portal?
We definitely got to get DN and another linebacker for sure.
And I mean, I'm not as high on him as a lot of people are, but even a guy like Ja'Kai Clark, who knows if he'll be ready for the Alabama game with the injury he sustained in the spring game. So even if we're looking to possibly get a guard, I wouldn't be surprised if we go for that, considering that it's basically Navon Donaldson, Jalen Rivers, and then who else do you feel comfortable throwing out there? I mean, Cleveland Reed hasn't shown us anything. Zalante Hillary, Kylian Herbert, some of the younger players we have. I mean, you're probably going to be depending on a guy like Lawrence Seymour, possibly to be a backup to Donaldson or Jalen Rivers going into that Alabama game. So I feel like maybe it's not a position that we thought we were going to need to possibly get a transfer at the beginning of spring. But I think definitely now with the injury to Ja'Kai Clark, that guard is a position that we should definitely look for getting in the transfer portal.
No, 100%. I agree. I think our second team offensive line is still in a building process. We have our first team offensive line and we can build from it, just second team personnel wise. And, when I interviewed Jason Fox, I mean, that guy had second all time in career starts at the University of Miami compared to any other player. He even told me, he preferably, as an offensive lineman, you don't want to switch offensive linemen or switch their positions. It's a very difficult task to make. You basically have to treat your other side of your body that you're not used to preparing for, training for. You have to treat it up to speed. If you're a left-handed, quarterback, and it's like, hey, throw with your right hand. Utilizing your left leg or your right leg. I mean, there's two different body parts. So, that's that's definitely a tough situation. And then rotating offensive line units, he stated you want to keep the same offensive line unit every single drive. Keep that rhythm going unless someone's gassed and they just can't keep going. Then you want to substitute, but you want to keep that same unit. But yeah, no, second team offensive line, definitely personnel wise, is a big question mark. And I think we're still building that depth. And, Caleb mentioned Lawrence Seymour, a true freshman, if he's in a game versus Alabama, look, I mean, nothing against Lawrence Seymour. He probably will have a great career at Miami, but it's a true freshman against the Alabama Crimson Tide, okay? The reigning national champs. They will eat you alive. Okay, that's just facts. Okay, if a true freshman plays well against Alabama, the sky's the limit for him. But it's a tough game as your first game as a college true freshman to match up on. Dorian, what do you think about this linebacker unit? Is it a position of urgency to bring someone in from the transfer portal?
That's a good question. I guess without knowing the direction that Manny Diaz really wants to go, because what are we gonna do with that weak side linebacker position, right? So, are we going with speed with Keontra starting and taking most of the snaps, right? Then you got Brooks, who was our starter last year. You probably project him to be either the starter or the backup. Um, Huff is emerging. So, if we do pick up somebody, I'm thinking it's middle linebacker. Not sure about Bradley Jennings, but, Corey Flagg showed some promise. Even last year, he stepped up a bit. I expect him to get a lot of snaps. But, to answer your question, if it's a middle linebacker in the portal or even an outside linebacker in the portal that we feel that can come in and play right away and start and contribute, why not? I mean, I would do it. I'm not sure if the Texas guy is the answer or even the other guy from Tennessee. I'm not sure of their names, but, if those options are there and based on film, if we see that those guys can come in and contribute, we don't have anything to lose by that.
Not to take that Tennessee linebacker in a heartbeat, bro.
Is he better than the Texas guy?
I think so.
by a mile.
Right?
What about the USC guy? If you compare all three, because it appears that all three
Paulie
were.
EA. I don't know. I haven't heard much about him. It's been
I,
quiet.
I just think that we're moving towards a different type of linebacker. And I think Iote, I just think that he's kind of in the more of the Shaq Quarterman type of mold. And I don't think we're going for that anymore.
Yeah, it just appears that we're going to be playing 4 to 5 safeties on the field instead of, 2 safeties and 2 linebackers and 1 striker. So you're really playing 5 safeties. You're playing Frierson, Keontra, right?
Well, that's what Alabama does. No, they usually play with like
you need that
5
speed.
safeties, right?
You need that speed. Yep.
I think that's what Manny's trying to do. He wants to get more faster, bro, because our linebacker play, it wasn't cutting it last year.
I just feel like if you get a big body running back, I feel like we're just a bit undersized, and in our rush defense, it's really going to show because I feel like we're very undersized at the linebacker position. I understand weak side linebacker is going to, it's your best athlete from the linebacker position unit. Ultimately, you want to utilize him for pass coverage. But I just think a big body running back over 220 pounds, like we saw against North Carolina, they're going to eat us alive. And we're missing that middle linebacker that we've had in the past. Your Denzel Perryman's, your Jonathan Bilmas, who, I mean, they were literally the hit stick on the field. If you're running through that hole, back of your head, every single running back is going to be like, shit, like I'm about to get eaten alive right now. It's that fear you put in, those running backs. And I feel like that's what's been lacking under the Manny Diaz tenure at the linebacker position is that hit stick middle linebacker. And it's more of an athletic, linebacker we're seeing in this position unit in general as a whole. But that's just how Manny Diaz wants to kind of play his defense around is a lot of athletes on the field. So it's very modern football. I feel like it's similar to the Seattle Seahawks defense, but hey, if it works out, great. But I do appreciate that the staff is aggressive and they're acknowledging there's a need at the linebacker position unit.
Most definitely. I mean, look, at the end of the day, if you could somehow get the guy from Tennessee, I think that's a home run type of get. I think that's probably on par with getting Tyreek Stevenson, and we were really lacking at corner. And now, Tyreek has solidified the position for us. And I think if you get that kid from Tennessee, I think it could probably do the same thing for the linebacker core, because it would do a lot of things. It would make a guy like Corey Flagg, instead of probably being the starter and maybe not being 100% ready for that, it lets him develop a little bit better. Because in my personal opinion, I think he'll be a hard worker. He'll be a really good player, but I don't see Corey Flagg as a high upside, Miami type linebacker. I just don't see it. And I think for us, at least for us as a defense to be elite, we need at least one of our linebackers to be, elite and Miami caliber. And right now, I don't see any of them. I mean, maybe Keontre, but he's kind of
We just
small.
moved him there, bro.
Yeah, I know, and he just he just got there.
So we don't know
You know,
yet.
he's gonna take some time to get used to it. I'm big on Sam Brooks, but the fact that this turf toe is still bothering him for more than a year is really worrisome. And I hope he could get back to 100% by the Bama game, because what we saw in the Louisiana Tech Bowl game was great. I thought he was going to be a stud for us last year, and he didn't live up to the expectations, but that was partially because he was injured. So I think if Sam Brooks can get back to 100%, I think he'll elevate the play of the linebackers as well.
He's got to, bro. This is year number 3 now. He's got to show some.
To me, it's clear that we got to get some help on the linebacking unit. And I say that from actually just reading what the coaching staff is doing. We've been talking about possible transfer linebackers for a little while now, and we're still talking about them. That makes me believe that even the staff themselves is fully aware that we need some extra help there.
No, for sure, bro. Because we can't have our linebackers with 30 tackles a season like we did last year, bro. That can't happen.
We need speed. We need aggressive athletes, and we need guys that show some explosive traits. I mean, we can bring in guys like Frierson and Chase Smith, but, those guys aren't going to solve the issues at linebacker. Those are our outside linebacker striker type guys, So we need to find some athletes like that we can deploy at linebacker.
Here's my thing. Sorry to interrupt you, Manny. We'll be fine in ACC play. We'll get away in the ACC Coastal. We saw Bradley Jennings flash some hit sticks against Duke. No doubt about it. We'll be fine in our division. But the moment we stack up against Clemson, the Alabamas, if we want to win that New Year's Six Bowl against a good Power 5 team, that's when the vulnerabilities will show. And that's what I'm stressing. This group that we have at linebacker, this entire unit will be fine in ACC play against above average opponents. But the moment you stack up against a good team, that's when the red flags will show. And I'm a little bit worried when we play the big opponents, because the whole thing at Miami, win the ACC Coastal, that's great. But when you play in Charlotte, when you play in that big first opening game, how do you look against those opponents? It's the men between the boys. And will Miami get over that hump? And that's what I'm worried about. This upcoming season, we have the team. We're the most balanced team, like Caleb stated, since 05, coming off of a spring game. The spring game looks great with 15 players missing. We're very balanced. But how do we look against the top Power 5 teams? Are we going to be a college football program that's ranked 20 through 25, 15 through 25? Are we going to look like a top 10 football program? That's my question.
You're going to have to outscore them, bro.
Yep.
Well, I mean, look, dude, the opportunity is right there, right in front for us. I know a lot of people aren't expecting much against Alabama. And look, it makes sense. I mean, they're the defending national champs. They had one of the best teams, in college football history offensively last year. But my devil's advocate to that is that, look, this is the best team that we've had in more than a decade. The talent is there. We upgraded our coaching staff as well, with T-Rob, and, recruiting wise, things are looking great. Look, if there's going to be a year, if there is a year to play Alabama first game, it would be this year. They're bringing in a new quarterback. I know everybody's all hype about Bryce Young, but this is a guy that hasn't played a game yet. And, I'm the type of person that, look, I got to see it first. You got to show me. So let's see what he can do. Let's see what he can do opening night against what I think is going to be a really good defense. We'll see what we can do. I'm not expecting a win, but I don't think that it's going to be as lopsided as a lot of people think it's going to be.
He got to show you. Oh, he going to show you all right. He going to. Trust me, Nick Saban ain't gonna start no bum, man. He gonna show you. We just gotta be ready for it, bro.
Yeah, but it's game 1, so you never know. Anything can happen, bro.
So here's my thing. Bill O'Brien's offense, I feel like it's going to be very conservative, nothing creative outside of the box. I feel like he's going to slowly tire your defense apart.
Mm-hmm.
Slowly. You'll see first quarter, it'll be a close game. Second quarter, it'll be a close game. But that third and fourth quarter, that's when they're gonna. It's a very consistent offense. They're gonna slowly take you apart, and they're gonna make second half adjustments as well. And that's an NFL head coach. That's an NFL offensive mind coming into the game. You'll see. I feel like the separation will come in the second half, if anything. I think it's going to be a close game in the first half, but that third and fourth quarter, they're going to make those second half adjustments. And I'm curious if Miami, if they adapt to that.
1,000%. And that's going to show what type of year we're going to have. I feel like the Alabama game is going to go either two ways. It's going to go, we'll stick with them for a little bit and then we'll get steamrolled, or we stay strong and we stick with them throughout the whole game. And even if we fall short, I think if it could be a 1 or 2 possession game and we show that, hey, we can play on this stage, honestly, I'll be really proud, and I think that'll set us up for a great year.
We've struggled with out-of-conference games. We're talking about Bama here, guys. We've struggled even with the Oklahoma States of the world. We're talking about a whole different level. So, I got to see that, like Paul had mentioned as well, it's fine what we have for the ACC, but I need to see us be able to match up with these other top 25 teams from other conferences. That's still my big concern.
I cannot recall the last time Miami has won a neutral site game. We're taking in bowl games, taking in just neutral site games in general. I cannot recall the last time we won a neutral site game besides the Russell Athletic Bowl game that I just reminded. We won in, was it 2016?
Yeah.
But before that, last time was in what, against Nevada in the Bluegrass Stadium, whatever you want to call it, where Boise plays. I can't recall a neutral site game, out of conference game that we won.
Well, let's not get it twisted. It may be quote unquote a neutral site game, but that's basically an Alabama home game in my mind.
100%.
It's going to be, in the ATL, if you've seen the SEC championships, when UGA isn't in it, it's all Bama basically crowd. And it's going to be an all Bama crowd for the most. I think it'll probably be like 85-15%.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just being real about it, man. People want to act like, look, yeah, UM, sometimes our fans can show out, but in a game like this, I really believe, like, best case scenario, it'll be like 80-20. I think it's going to be a heavy pro-Bama crowd. And that's another thing that the team has to be ready for. You're going into an hostile environment against the top team in the country. That's, that's big, and if you're Manny Diaz, you got to say it point blank. You are going into a place where you're going to be tested more than you've ever been tested in your college career.
Yep. You can't get stuck on the crimson red, the bright lights, playing Atlanta's new stadium. ESPN cameras, Nick Saban on the sidelines. You can't stare at that. You got to stick to your assignments. No Miami Hurricanes football. And if Miami does that, they will be successful. But if you try to hurdle a guy in the game, that's when you commit turnovers. If you can't hurdle anyone in practice, don't do things you didn't do in practice. Transition it to the game. Okay? Practice what you preach, and you will be successful in this football game. And we'll see. And one thing we haven't mentioned is we have to be very disciplined in this game. We cannot commit consecutive penalties. Miami is a heavily penalized team. Heavily penalized.
Yeah.
When we played Clemson in Death Valley, we were literally knocked out of that game due to penalties. Okay, you can't be successful if you give up 130 yards in penalties against any elite Power 5 program. You will not win that football game. This is not the Randall Hill Cotton Bowl game where you can give up 200 yards in penalties and blow your opponent out. This is not the same Miami Hurricanes football team.
You know what? This game is kind of setting up and reminded me of the that LSU game when we played them opening year. Where were we playing them at? Was it in New Orleans?
Dallas.
Or?
Oh, it was Dallas. It was in
Jerry
Dallas.
Road.
It's the same thing. You talked about mistakes, and I remember the mistakes that we made that game, from substitution errors, from fumbles to drop passes, and we just shot ourselves in the foot that game. And that's something that we can't do at the very beginning of this game versus Alabama, or else it's going to be over early. So,
and Dorian, the crazy thing about that LSU game, when I was there in Dallas, and we brought a good crowd too. It was like 60-40. Miami LSU obviously had more fans, but I remember the first couple drives, I said, LSU is fast. I mean, I was like, these guys are really fast. Like, Miami's fast, but these guys are like just faster. And I was like, the speed of the game, I mean, I don't think we can keep up with these guys. And it was the little things, because I remember Javonte Dean had an easy pick 6, but he dropped it. And I don't know if you guys remember that play. And it's little things like that, little plays like that can change the game. Javonte Dean picks that pass off from Joe Burrow, takes it to the house, or a turnover of possession. Momentum changes. Little things like that. You got to take advantage of the little moments, and you will be successful in these football games. But you know what? Big time players step up in big time games, like Manny was going to say. And that's the difference. Who's going to be that big time player that steps up in a big time game and makes that big time play? That's what I'm looking for.
One big difference between that LSU game and this game is that I think talent-wise, we have a way more talented team this year than we had then. I think King is a way better leader than Malik Rozier. No offense.
No offense taken, bro.
Yeah, I mean, look, honestly, maybe it's wishful thinking. Maybe it's me being a bit over positive. But, I mean, I'm not going into this game thinking that we're going to win. But I'm going into it thinking that, you know what, we're not just going to just show up and just get bodied by Alabama. I just think, this is a different team. It's a different time. And I think, at least I feel confident enough that we're going to show up and we're not just going to be a pushover for them.
But the question is that do our team believe that they can win?
They should.
No, but let me tell you, that's one of the main things. I mean, they I think they said it on the documentary. Jerome
you go
Brown,
to Miami, right? You go to Miami to play these games.
Bro. Yeah, you go to Miami to play these games against the best teams in the country. And another thing is, intimidation factor is big, man. We can't get on the field and look on the other side and be like, whoa, these guys are huge, like this is Alabama. Because they've already won if you're already thinking that type of way. You have to go into it believing that you can win the game. That's one of the first steps.
That's what Benny Blaze used to say, right? If we got in your head before the kickoff, that was it. It's over.
Did you guys see that? Did you guys see their spring game? What did you think of that?
Alabama spring game?
Yeah.
I mean, I think
a lot of turnovers. But their personnel looks great.
Yeah, their O-line looks. I mean, their O-line looks like it's not as good as last year's, but it's still pretty darn good. And I think Evan Neal looks like an absolute monster. That's another guy that, man, how things would be if we were able to get him instead of him going
I
to bat.
I was impressed with their wide receiver core. I was
Yeah,
very
their young
impressed.
guys look good. Their
Young
young
guys
guys
look
look good.
good, very
Yeah.
elite. But their quarterbacks, it was a lot of mistakes they made, and that's normal for a spring game. But like trenches wise, their D line, O line, like they look like grown men. They
Yep.
look like grown
Yep.
men.
But honestly, what you wouldn't expect anything less
I'll show.
from an Alabama
I'll
team.
tell you, Bryce Young made a lot of mistakes, but he showed flashes of a great player. You can tell he was an underclassman quarterback in his first spring game or his second spring game, but like first game taking over the huddle. But he showed there were plays where I was like, wow, like you can't teach that natural ability. I think the
Bro,
second play of the game, he looked. It was a wheel route where it wasn't even his second read, and he looked just the way he carried himself, pocket presence, was very elite.
like Caleb said, bro, it's going to be his first start. Manny and Bob Shoop have to have a game plan around him, bro.
They
Yep.
they
They
have to
cannot let
have
this kid go off, bro.
they have to have some specific calls that they haven't used at least last year and the year before. Man, he can't even use some of the stuff that he used a few years ago when he was the DC. I feel like for this game, you have to have saved some stuff that you haven't used and or some new stuff. You feel me? Like you're gonna have to really get in your bag because Nick Saban I mean, dude, he's arguably the best defensive mind in college football. So you're not gonna have a lot of stuff that he doesn't have. You feel me? So you're gonna have to really get in this kid's head. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying that look, you better prepare for it.
I'll tell you what, I want to see Rhett Lashley's offensive game plan because, in my opinion, what he showed against Brett Venables, that little tight end pass with Will Mallory, or was it vice versa with Brevin Jordan? He throws that shit out every single game. He threw it out against North
Mhm.
Carolina. That's like his white flag. Like, listen, man, that's all I got. Like let's just hope it prays and works out. I feel like his offensive game plan needs to be a lot better and prepared against Alabama. We don't need to see a lot of scripted plays first drive, man. Can't be repetitive inside zone reads. Like he needs to call a better offensive game plan.
I mean, dude, to match what Dorian was saying earlier, you got to beat these guys in a shootout. Think
Yeah.
about all the games Alabama has lost, and most of them have been shootouts. You feel me? And it takes an elite quarterback to beat them too.
And Caleb, just to echo off of that, our wide receiver play needs to step up as well. We can't have drop passes. And not to single out people, there were a couple drop passes that we saw from certain wide receivers that can happen for big plays. Because that Mark Pope dropped pass that he was wide open, easy touchdown, that cannot happen against Alabama. We need to execute every single time.
Bro, if Pope's in the game, I'm turning my TV off.
He's gonna play. We know he's gonna play. We know he's gonna play.
Oh, bro.
Oh man.
Bro,
I,
I mean, look, if we're keeping it a buck, I really think that Rambo and Harley are going to be able to eat against their corners, man. I like the matchup of because you already know they're going to put Josh Jobe on Rambo. I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. They're going to put Malachi Moore probably on Mike Harley. And they're Jaden Armour Davis. I think that's the opposite corner next to Job. He's probably going to cover Keyshawn Smith because I'm assuming Keyshawn's going to start. I feel like we have the advantage there at two of the spots. I think the only spot we don't is because I think Jalen Armour Davis is, from what I saw from him in the spring game, he looks good. I mean, I think he looks better than Josh Jobe, in my personal opinion. So we'll just have to see what happens. If King can get some cohesion with Rambo and Keyshawn over the summer, that's going to be huge. Because if he can get any type of repertoire with them, I think that Rambo can definitely take advantage. And I think he can have a big game against Alabama.
What do you think about the 4 receiver sets we were doing in the spring game? Do you think we see that
I
against
would hope
Alabama?
so. I would hope so. Yeah.
That looks
I
like pretty
think
good.
I think it depends how healthy Mallory is going into the Bama game. How and Arroyo, because if both of them are 100%, I mean, dude, those guys are going to be matchup nightmares. I would love to see both of them on the field at the same time, and possibly, two tight end sets and see what they can do up the seam.
No, I don't want to see no two tight end sets, bro. No,
Why not?
Because they shut that down. I need to see the spread offense that Florida used and that Ole Miss used against Bama last year.
Yep.
Because it is proven that it's hard for them to stop that. I need us to show that. If we start going traditional with power, they're gonna shut that down.
Nah,
bro.
we're not going power, bro.
We're
With
not.
two tight ends is power.
Yeah, but you could get different looks from a two tight end set, not just run the ball.
We're not going to win the game on our legs.
That's true, bro. But
No.
we not gonna beat them by running down their throat, bro. You're gonna have to
exactly.
spread them out, and you're gonna have to pass for damn near 400 yards to beat them, bro.
You think King could do that?
I think he could, but I mean, dude, the O-line has to hold up, man. Like, look, he can. It's not gonna matter if he only has like 2 seconds to pass the ball. You feel me?
Yeah.
The way we want to play the fast up tempo, spread, you don't have to score a lot of points, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And unless we plan on slowing the game down, and if it's just a slow down game and we can run the clock and keep it close that way, that's another way to operate that game. But if we want to, fast up tempo, bro, you're gonna have to pass the ball. And it's gonna have to be if the game plan we came out with versus Clemson, that shit is not gonna work, bro.
Yeah.
Yep.
To beat Alabama and Clemson, you got to put up 42 points. Yeah, at least 42 points.
At least, because they're gonna put that up on you.
Yeah.
Or close to
I mean,
it.
but can you realistically expect them? I mean, I understand that a lot of people think highly of Bryce Young, but this is a guy that hasn't he hasn't done anything yet, man. Like he may be great, he may be awesome, but you automatically think game one they're gonna drop 40 on us. I don't know if I can go that.
Man, listen, man.
With our run defense,
from what I saw in that spring game, bro, he's gonna be good. By the time August and September rolls around, he's gonna be good, bro. They got talent. They got the talent at wide out. I mean,
and one thing about Saban, he'll switch up quarterbacks. He'll switch up personnel. He don't care. He'll go all out first game.
Yeah.
He did with Tua for the national title game.
And the key is that the key is they not running a new offense. If you looked at that spring game and based on what Saban said, he said that the coordinator that they brought in
Bill O'Brien
learned the system that they already had because they didn't want to put a new system on the players. Yeah. So he just learned the terminology, learn the plays that they already ran, and he just gonna call the plays. I mean, he'll have his twist on it, but don't get it twisted for 1 second to think that they coming in with a brand new system. I mean, they got their O-line coached in the NFL last year and their OC, bro. They got great coaching over there. So they
got fired, bro. So
yeah, but
this is their first game too in college, bro.
Well, Bill O'Brien is a head coach at Penn State.
them getting fired doesn't mean that they don't know football. It just means that they couldn't will the team to win on the NFL level. Shit, Saban didn't work out in the NFL.
Yeah.
But that doesn't diminish what he was able to do before on the college level.
Shiano got fired at Tampa.
There you go.
I think Greg Schiano would have been a great head coach at Miami, but that's a whole different subject. That's a whole different subject.
I just think that's an interesting
that's
thing
to say.
Think about. Yeah,
hey, Shiano had a billboard. You take the bridge on I-95 headed to the beach. You pass through Overtown. Shiano had a billboard in Overtown on I-95 going to Miami Beach. You saw that right there. Okay, everybody in Overtown, right next to Booker T. Washington High School, will see that billboard. Rutgers football. And what he did at Rutgers, to put them number 2 in the nation. Because Rutgers football is, I don't even know how to compare it to any other program in general, any other sport. I mean, these were like the bad news bears of college football. And to take them to number 2 in the nation, I tip my hat off to you, man. To sell kids Piscataway, New Jersey, which is like -5 degrees 10 months out of the year. I tip my hat off to Shiano, man. He did a tremendous job.
Yeah, and he was the architect.
And he was the architect behind that. Exactly. So, and plus, I mean, yeah, he was the DC at Miami. DC at Miami during our prime years. So, hey, but that's a whole nother subject for a whole nother day. I'm curious what you guys think since we're talking NFL. We got the NFL draft coming up. You know, Gregory Rousseau, I know that's been a hot topic between us. A lot of mock drafts have him going in the second round. Even Drew Rosenhaus, his agent, came out publicly and stated a lot of teams want him in the first round. They've already inquired about him. Where do you guys think Rousseau's going to end up? And was it a good decision for him to sit out this past season? Because when he was coming off of that redshirt freshman year, everybody and their mom had him in the top 5, top 10, top 15 at most. I mean, he was a for sure first round pick. Now it's like, well, I don't know. And now it is a mock draft. You don't know what an NFL organization is thinking. Heck, he can go third overall, first overall if they believe in him. It's up to the NFL GM and that organization. But where do you guys think Gregory Rousseau is going to end up? We'll start off with Ross.
I think he's one of those guys that's got the widest range of possibilities, especially when you consider first and second round talent. I think it would be a shame to see a guy of his caliber fall into the second round. If he was to fall into the second round, it would be very early. I think he would go, and I have no doubt in my mind that there would be smart teams trying to trade up to get in on that value, because it would be supreme value at that point. Needing to figure out whether he's going to play inside or outside seems to be the big knock right now. You know, that we saw what he could do on the inside and we saw what he could do on the outside, but can he do either one of those well in the NFL or at an elite level, which you'd want from a possible first round pick? And to me, you know, that leaves some big question marks, but there's no doubt with his physical traits, his explosiveness, and just his upside in general, that he should be a first round pick.
Bro, that's like the same thing every year with the DNs, like if they're going to pan out or not. But Greg's what, 6'7", 270 pounds?
Mm-hmm.
So there is no way he drops in the second round, bro. No way.
I mean, I'll take it a little bit further. I don't think so. I see two things. I see him either not falling past Tennessee at 22. And if he does somehow fall past Tennessee, I don't see him.
Huh?
I don't see him passing by the Browns at 26.
Yeah.
I think the value is too much there. But I will agree that I think he cost himself a lot of money. I think if he had played this year, he would have been a no doubt top 10 pick. He would have sleepwalked into double-digit sacks. I mean, imagine a defensive end, you know, rotation of him, Phillips, and Rochet. That would have been, you know, probably the best in the country. You know,
bro.
But it is what it is.
Sorry, Caleb, but if Rousseau would have played, bro, Blake Baker still would have been here, I think.
I mean, hey, you
because he saved his ass that first year too. When after that fifth game when he started,
yeah,
that's when the defense started picking up.
There's a legitimate case to that. Yeah, there's a legitimate case to be made there,
Bro,
but I mean,
I'm not.
He hit so much deficiency. That's why.
I'm looking at a CBS mock draft. They have Rousseau going in the third round, pick 90
bro.
to the Bucks.
Nah, man, come on.
What website is this?
I don't see that happening.
CBS.
CBS.
95th pick to the Bucks, third round.
Nah. You know how many people in CBS do mock drafts, Dorian?
Hey man, don't shoot the messenger, bro.
Bro, third round, bro.
I'm just reporting what's out there, bro.
You're telling me there's 100 players better than Greg Rousseau that they're gonna skip over?
Man, listen.
No, bro. I know it's not you, but I'm just saying. Like, why do they think that?
Because this is the thing with the, sorry to interrupt anyone was talking, but my opinion on this, like, you haven't played football in 1 year. You're
Mm-hmm.
not fresh of that highlight film, and he's only had 1 year of college football on his tape. It's not like a veteran player as well. You know, it's you're trending upward. Jalen Phillips, why is he such a hot commodity right now? Why was David Njoku such a hot commodity coming out of Miami? What Philip Dorsett is because they had that fresh film on him, and they did great on the combine. So it's kind of, you're as good as your last at bat, and the trend is over for Rousseau. He did great his redshirt freshman year. He did killer, but it dies down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean another thing is that he's only played the position for a year. You
True.
know, like even in high school, he didn't play defensive end. You know, so he's someone that's still learning all the nuances of the defensive end position.
He's still raw, bro. But how many teams have drafted a raw DN in the first round? You know what I mean? A lot of teams
Oh no,
have.
definitely, definitely.
So this thing of him dropping the second round is just, I think it's because of his pro day. He didn't have a great pro day.
I mean, I
If
didn't
he
think
if he would have
he
killed
had.
it, bro, he would have been where he was. Like no one would have said he'd be dropping. Drew Rosenhaus wouldn't have to come out and say that teams want him in the first round.
I don't think he had a terrible pro day, but I agree because when you look at him and Phillips, I mean Phillips had an amazing pro day, like he killed it, and he had a great year as well. So I mean, arguably, when the year ended, a lot of people thought both of them were the top two pass rushers in the draft, and now Greg's fallen off a little bit. I think I saw some places where like Greg is like 3 or 4. And for the most part, I still see that Jalen is the top defensive end in the draft. And in my opinion,
Yeah.
I don't think it's relatively close. I think, a lot of people say the guy from Michigan or, the guy from Georgia or Penn State.
The one
I'm
that
going to be
don't have a
honest,
sack.
man. Yeah, dude, I'm going to be honest. I think it's a joke that they're, in the same conversation as Jalen.
I feel you. But bro, Greg is rare, bro, because he's 6'7". That's the problem. We ain't never seen 6'7" DNs before like that.
Yeah, I mean, look, and if you think about it, look, Calais Campbell is arguably a Hall of Famer, and Arizona didn't really use him correctly for his first couple years in the NFL. I think Greg has a higher upside than Calais Campbell. So, are you going to pass on a guy that could possibly be a NFL Hall of Famer? I don't think a lot of teams are going to do that, which is why I still think he'll go in the first round.
He probably has the highest upside from any NFL draft prospect.
Yeah,
Without
I would
doubt.
say. No, I would. I will.
The
I don't
highest
know
upside.
about. I don't know about any prospect, but I would think at defensive end, yeah.
It's gonna be interesting, bro. That's what, a week away, next Thursday?
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
Knock
So
on wood. Hopefully, the Dolphins get him. Selfishly
could
saying.
be.
with
Hey guys,
with
I'm
eight,
curious though. Like we're talking about Rousseau and his possibilities. On the other side, we got Phillips. How high do you think Phillips could rightfully go? Like, what's the possible top pick that he could get to?
15's fine.
11, 11. Me and
11.
Caleb were
Yeah.
talking about it. The Giants at
11.
11.
Yeah. I think the highest he could go is 11 to the Giants. Yeah.
Bro, you put Jalen Phillips on that Giants team with the people they added
Yeah.
on that defense, bro.
Yeah, Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence. I mean, hey, that's a pretty damn good D line.
Oh yeah.
What do you guys think about Brevin Jordan?
Second round.
I think.
I think
I don't know about
yeah.
second round.
Third or fourth, maybe.
Yeah, and it's sad because man, I had such high expectations and hopes for him this year, and I don't think he had a bad year. It's just man, those injury problems just kept coming back, and
Yeah.
bothering him, and I think that's gonna be one of the main things that holds him back from being a day 2 pick.
Injuries and like being 6'3" too. That's
Yeah.
always
I mean, to me, like I always viewed like Brevin Jordan. I wasn't shocked when Red Lashley brought this stat up, but like Brevin Jordan led tight ends in yards after catch, and I never really acknowledged him as a tight end who would get a lot of yards, after a reception. I always thought like David Njoku was more of a tight end like that because he had that freak athletic ability where he can literally just juke every defender in his face. Brevin Jordan,
Yeah.
I feel like he's just a possession tight end, at the next level. He's going to move the chains for you. But
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't have that freak athletic ability, and I think at the tight end level, your Gronkowski's, Travis Kelsey's, Jimmy Graham's, David Njoku's, you know, you have to have that freak athletic ability that you can't teach.
But you
Bro,
know what? He could still cut out a nice role for himself
yeah.
because I think a lot of people have compared him to Delaney Walker and Jonnu Smith. I mean, dude, Jonnu Smith is what, the third highest paid tight end in the NFL right now after that contract the Patriots gave him. I mean,
Yeah.
dude, he could still, if he works hard and really, keeps doing what he's been doing and can, I think he's better utilized as a committee type of tight end. I don't think he has the body that'll keep up for now a 17 game regular season. If he's your starting tight end, I just don't know if he can, keep up for a whole season. But in a committee, I mean, I think in my personal opinion, the perfect fit for him is going to Green Bay to pair up with Robert Tonyan. I think
I will
both
say the
of
same
them,
thing.
dude, they would kill it, with Rob. I mean, dude, he's the type of guy that I could see him getting 7 to 8 touchdowns in his
Yeah.
rookie year.
Rodgers can make him like a Pro Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that Brevin will have going for him, which is a big deal right now in the NFL, is versatility. We saw him lined up as an inline, detached tight end, H-back. We saw him line up in the slot. That kind of stuff is definitely intriguing to these new age OCs. He's in that tweener kind of discussion. I hate to say it, but I frankly wouldn't be shocked if he fell to the early 5th round. I expect him to go to the 3rd or 4th, but it wouldn't shock me just due to his size and his injury history.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with you. I think, honestly, in my opinion, I think best case is he goes like top half of the 3rd round. I don't see him going in. I mean, maybe if he had a better pro day, but even at his pro day, it was a bit of a flop, so I feel like best case scenario, he goes like top half of the 3rd round.
Either way, it's going to be a steal whoever drafts him.
No,
He'll
definitely.
put in the work for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, another guy that we
should he have came back?
oh,
I don't think it
I
improves
think,
his draft stock.
yeah, but me either, man. I think maybe, I mean, look, if you look at it this way, maybe if he comes back and stays healthy and balls out, maybe he's a 2nd round pick. But to stay another year just for, maybe possibly going around higher, I feel like he probably made the right decision to just go this year.
Should Rousseau have came back?
Eh,
I think
I think
Rousseau, he should have just stayed. I mean, he should have just played this past season, in my opinion.
Yep.
Looking at it now, just
Yep.
played and then go pro.
That's the right answer right there.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think we're all in agreement. If he would have played, he's a top 10 pick.
Top 5. I'll throw that out.
What do you guys think about Quincy Rochet? I mean, he's another guy who's got kind of a, we talk about Rousseau and his long body, 6'7". Well, Rochet is a guy who's shown some talent on the outside, rushing the passer, but he's being projected as a possible outside linebacker in the NFL. Long legs, short arms, not necessarily super explosive. He does show some explosive traits when he's rushing the passer, but I've noticed that their initial explosiveness, that doesn't carry through to the entire play, and I think it's why he didn't get so many sacks in the ACC.
He's very
What do you
technically
guys think
sound.
he could fall to?
He's very technically sound. He's a 3rd round draft pick, in my opinion, 3rd to 4th. You can't, like, technique wise, he's one of the most elite defensive ends we've had in Miami. Just speaking off of technique, he's very well coached, and I think that carries a lot of weight to NFL organizations looking at a potential NFL draft prospect. He's coming in very well coached, very technically sound. I think that's why he's so highly rated as an NFL draft prospect.
Yeah, I agree 1,000% on what Paul said. Honestly, to me, this is going to sound very cliche, but he is a Patriots type player. I hate the Patriots, but he's exactly the type of player that will go there and he'll be a 10-year veteran and he'll have a great career there. He's literally the type of person that I feel like he'll go there and he'll dominate.
Yeah, man. Yeah, a third round for sure. They even had him second round like before, but these mock drafts.
Well, I mean, look, all it takes is one team to fall in love with you, and hey, if that team feels comfortable taking him in the second round, he could possibly go in the second round.
Yeah, I remember because these teams they have a waiver list of players that they like compared to other teams. So, yeah, you never know.
I think he'll go in the third round though. From just answering that question, and I think he's a third rounder.
Now, what do we say about Borregales? Do we think he goes fifth round, sixth round, something like that?
Well, I mean, he's going to be the first specialist off the board, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, kickers are weird. Like, you don't know with kickers. Like, if a team wants to pick you, I mean, like Roberto Aguayo. I mean, he was like the most elite kicker coming out of college. That guy,
second round, bro.
I thought he was gonna be the next Sebastian Gaskowski, whatever his last name is. He was elite, man. Like at Florida State, he didn't miss. Line it up anywhere. He was gonna fucking. Sorry for cursing, but he was gonna put it through the uprights.
Yeah, I was honestly nothing made me happier to see that he was a bust in the NFL because that guy. I mean, there's only one school I despise the most, and that's Florida State. And honestly,
I remember when Ryan Mays went after him, and like it was like 2013 game when like Jameis Winston was like when they won the national title that year. I was like, bro, what do you like? Listen, I pay respect to players on the other team, man. I was like, yo, you don't pick on their kicker, man. That guy will school you. Like you're picking on the wrong guy, man. Like, don't get in his head, man.
he was in our side of the field, bro. That's why.
Hey, he can kick wherever, man. Hey, listen, man. They like. In college football, that was the best kicker I ever seen. Like modern, like in my own eyes, man. He was good, man. And that's something like you could be a good college kicker, like like if you're good in college as a kicker, how are you not good in the NFL? It's a mental thing.
He just had the jitters, man. He had the jitters.
Exactly.
The jitters, or he's probably overconfident. Like, yeah, I'm a second round pick.
But let me tell you, man, Borregales, he's gonna start for an NFL team this year.
Oh yeah, he's good, man. Best thing that happened to Miami was getting a Borregales.
And let me tell you, his little brother's a stud too. We're set. We're set for the next 3 years.
His baby brother's all tatted already, bro. Starting to look like his big bro.
Yeah, he ready, man.
Ross, anything you want to add before we wrap it up that we missed out on?
I think we covered all the guys in the draft, spring game, all that stuff. I think we pretty much wrapped it up.
We got a whole off season of nothing coming up.
So we saw the spring game. We know what we have moving forward to fall camp. What's the expectation for this season?
11-1. 11-1 or bust.
Caleb says 11-1 or bust. Love it.
Oh man, you said that last year too, bro.
He says it every year, bro.
Hey, it's gonna happen one of these years.
He says it. I got
10-2 to be honest. If anything, 10-2, 9-3.
I got 10-2. Yep, 10-2 or 9-3. 9-3 at worst. 10
That's just because we're to play a team that we shouldn't be close to. So that always happens every year with us.
Yeah, we I mean, outside of Bama, man, we shouldn't lose to nobody. But until I see we can beat North Carolina, I'm just gonna reserve.
Hey, I'll take it a step further. I think we're gonna go 12-2. We're going to lose to Bama, run the table after that, lose to Clemson, and we're going to beat whoever we play in the Orange Bowl.
Yeah, right, bro. If we're 11-1 going into that ACC title game, you're going to say we're going to win that shit, bro.
Nah. Of course. Nah, man. That UNC game took me down a notch, bro. I can't do that.
I think that best case scenario, 10-2, 11-1, no doubt about it. My only thing is last year, man,
We
we
could have
went
done the
through.
same thing.
We had, yeah, exactly. I mean, we sweated through Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh, and Virginia, and see, I mean, every game we basically sweated through. Let's be real, it was dogfights, and it was just ugly football.
Paul, against backup quarterbacks, bro. Remember those 3 games
Exactly.
in a row?
I got to see it to believe it. And you know what? Like, I look, man. The expectation is win the ACC Coastal, and playing North Carolina in Chapel Hill. For some reason, we never play well in Chapel Hill. It's always a dogfight. So hey, I Mac Brown has Manny Diaz's number. So until I see the end around of that and Manny Diaz beats Mac Brown, I'm still questioning that game. And Clemson, Dabo Sweeney has Miami's number as well. Like literally has their number. It hasn't been close since. So we'll see, man. It'll be an interesting year, but I think 10-2 is the magic number. And we got to win a bowl game. I'm tired of losing the bowl game.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
got to win a bowl game, man.
I was trying to tell them, man. They were saying, "Oh, is it a good year if we go 10-2, lose to Clemson, and then we lose the bowl game?" Hell no, that's
Same
not
story.
good.
Same story, different year.
Yeah, man. It's
Same story,
basically
different
this
year.
year.
Same
Yeah.
story, different year. Exactly. It was basically last year. I mean, we would have beat Oklahoma State if we had everyone back and King healthy.
No, Caleb, you left one out short. The question was if we went 11-1 and lost to
Oh yeah,
Clemson
that's
and
true.
lost
That's
the
true.
whole game.
Yeah,
So
well, if we did that, I would still feel pissed about it.
But is that a better season than the one we just had? I say yes.
It is, but we still are not over that hump,
Of course.
Yeah.
But you know us Miami fans, bro. It's always about championships.
That's true, bro. That's true, but I mean, I think we're at least 3 years away from that.
Like if we go 10-3 or whatever, like everyone's gonna complain, oh, we didn't do anything this year. It's the same old stuff. It's gonna come down until we win the ACC championship, we get in the playoffs or something like that, or we win our bowl game. That's when people are gonna be satisfied. Like, yes, we had a great year. But until that happens and we keep losing these games, this is going to be the same thing every year, bro. Like, did we really get better? No, we didn't, because we couldn't beat those two teams that we're supposed to beat.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, look, if we keeping it above,
if we lose, it all depends on how. If we look like what we did last year, then no. But if it's a more competitive game, that's something to build on.
Yeah, no, because last year we had a ton of games where players were out because of COVID. Do you think we have every player on our roster for every game this year?
Well, that's another good question, man, because who knows what they're going to do when it comes to vaccinations and stuff like that.
True.
Because if we have all our players and like everyone's too deep in every position, bro, there should be no excuses why we look like crap or anything.
Well, here's the thing, bro. You're still going to have a COVID protocol because just because you're vaccinated don't mean that you can't get COVID.
Yeah, that's true. That's really true. I mean, look, honestly, we haven't mentioned this, but if we have an injury on the offensive line, we're going to be in big trouble, man. Because I think our starting unit is going to be good, but after that, the drop off is monumental.
Oh yeah. But that goes back to recruiting and stacking classes after classes.
But that's a good question though. Those protocols, I mean, we could still have guys missing games, bro.
Yeah.
We're just gonna have to see how it shakes out, man.
But last year we had a bunch of players miss games and we didn't have any depth. You know what I mean? I think this year we have that depth just in case anyone goes out because of COVID.
At certain positions, but I don't think at offensive line.
We'll see what happens, man.
Well, what's our second deep on the offensive line right now? It's Campbell, left tackle.
Jared Williams, right tackle. I mean,
they still have Traore, right?
Yeah, and he stinks.
I got Scaife as the backup right tackle, bro.
Yep.
I mean, I agree with you, but you know, they really like DJ, man.
Yeah, he didn't play that bad in the spring game. To be honest.
I think Williams is gonna start, bro.
Yeah, but
I
he
would
needs to
agree
stay
with you
healthy
there.
though, because he's been missing too much time.
And he needs to get better in the run game, bro. If y'all saw last year, he didn't give us anything in the run game.
Hey, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, go ahead.
We'll see what happens, man. That's the beauty of the season. We all don't know, and all of our predictions can be completely wrong, or maybe they are right. So that's the beauty of the 2021 season of college football. Appreciate everyone for coming on, taking time out of their night, and I hope everyone has a great rest of the day. And always, all about the U. Go Canes.
Go Canes, baby.
Sir.